Okay. I'm using the paper that cannot be described or pronounced, and which is kind of a thin cartridge, I suppose. And some, where is it? This stuff, which is this MIYA charcoal. Well, it says, I've told you before, it says willow vine on it, so it's like a hybrid. Anyway, that's what I'm using, just because of the video yesterday about using unsuitable charcoal. This is not unsuitable. It is suitable for most people, but I think it might have got misinterpreted when I was talking about it yesterday. Somebody mentioned about using charcoal dust, which was not the point of the video. The point of the video was that use whatever, make it work in whatever way you can. You know, this thing of an expectation of it will be blended perfectly, therefore I must make it blend, and it may not blend perfectly, so you've got to find another way to do it. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's not a case of learning a technique and sticking to that technique. It's learning to draw and with whatever you've got in your hand at the time. The thing about talent came because somebody said about it's easy to find proportions when you've got talent. No, it's not. It's no different to any other part of this process, which is the ability to see with accuracy and respond accordingly. And that really is the root of everything. So I'm not one that believes in talent. I'm not. This is, probably many will, but I don't. So it's not really a consideration for me. I think that the main thing for it is because areas I don't think in talent, because I think that it kind of negates all the effort. All the effort that goes into it. That people put the thought, the consideration, the number of times you may do something in searching. Like I said to somebody yesterday, the thing that makes something great isn't a determined factor. It's something that can't be described, it can only be discovered. It's that kind of thing. And that if it's something to do with a learned behavior, then it's not that. If the special quality is a result of learning, then it's not, because it means that anybody can learn it, and that's not special, is it? So this thing of talent being a given thing, I shan't say what the source is because it's different for many people, but for me, it to some extent, it's a bit of an insult. It's an insult for all the hours of thought and all the hours of effort and all the I won't say pain because it makes it sound a bit too pretentious, but all the things that we put into what we do is almost swept away. And I always think that people who use the word it's all right for you, you've got talent kind of brigade. I just think that's an excuse that they can't, because they can't put the effort in, and they won't make the sacrifices is the word I was trying to look for, rather than doing this mundane task or whatever it might be. They're prepared to say, no, I'm going to sit and I'm going to draw. I'm going to learn to do this. I'm going to let myself, explore this world. So I just think it's an excuse for some people. It's a reason not to do it. Oh, I can't do it because I'm not talented like you are. No, you're just not. You're just a lazy so-and-so that won't put the effort in to actually try and find out whether or not. And I'm sure you will be able to if you put the effort in. You can express yourself creatively. And that's the thing. I think artists have a special kind of resilience. That's what it is. You've got to have it because of the amount of abuse you get, in terms of, oh, you're not a proper, you haven't got a proper job, and all that sort of thing, and people won't pay you. That's another kind of abuse. They won't pay you what it's worth. But the talent thing is that it just annoys me sometimes. It's just, as you can probably tell, I don't, I don't want it, my ability being seem to be or assigned to another force. I don't want that. I don't want that either. I don't want that. So, the force that makes this happen is my force, and that's it. It's not a third party thing. I tell you what, with the unsuitable paper, and you'll probably find this with unsuitable papers, which is this is suitable but not completely suitable for me. It might be for others. You get a very responsive. I think it's part of the charcoal as well, because this is not. I've got a friend who's struggling with the tonal thing, and it's a combination of things. It's a combination of the charcoal and the paper she's using. But when you see it actually responding like this and being it's very dark and not that smooth in terms of blendability. I think you've got to respond, like I said yesterday, that you've got to respond to whatever it's doing, and if it's not going to make the if it's too dark, if it won't blend, and it does the on-off thing. My son refers to it as an on-off thing. It's either dark, black, or it's not, or dark, or it's not. If it does all that, then just be aware at the moment that it's doing it, what it's doing. It's kind of it's definitely the present thing. It's definitely being present to it and doing. And just being aware of what it's doing and responding accordingly. If it won't do the I nearly said, this thing about the expecting to do something thing. If it won't do what you perceive it should do, and obviously there's a perception there of or expectation rather of what it should do, and which is kind of wrong, because we're just looking at something and we're drawing it, and an expectation is far from should be far from our minds. It's not we're not doing this to meet any kind of criteria or anything. We're just doing this. We're just drawing this face. So whatever it's doing, and that's you responding to a face and doing it in a certain way, and embracing what the tool does. That's not. It's not, so in that way it can't fail, can it? You can always have an outcome from that. So this isn't my usual charcoal. This is not what I normally choose. This is I usually use my own homemade charcoal, and this isn't anywhere near as good as the homemade stuff. It's the stuff you buy, and everybody can buy this. So I'm not doing anything. It's not, I've got no benefits from this. It doesn't have the the smoothness of application that I get with, but I'm not really bothered. I'm just more bothered about the drawing side of things. I'm more bothered about the responding to the subject I see. That's the kind of thing that I'm concerned with. It's not it's not whether or not it does what I normally do. I'm not even thinking about it. I can just see what's happening, what it's doing, and I'm just going along with it, which I think a lot of people have a problem with. I think the main thing is you kind of got to forget what it is that you normally do. I mean, I'm making the marks in the same way I make, or dragging the charcoal in the same way I normally drag the stuff that I make around. But what's happening on the paper is different. So everything applies the same. I'm still looking for the same locations of things. I'm still wandering around it and trying to, sort of make these diagonal comparisons, and just the same. It's all about relationships. Like the person that commented on the proportions thing, saying it's all right if you're talented. No, this is how it works, right? I compare. Well, first of all, I'm using visual comparison to locate things, right? Locate the position of things. So I'm doing that, right? That's not talent. That's just knowledge, if you like, to some extent. But it's a simple thing. So I'm doing that to locate the anchors, as I call them, and then I'm using the same skills to actually locate the shapes, and then I'm using the same skills to apply the tone. So none of that at the moment is involving talent. I mean, the movement and the charcoal sort of mark making thing is a consequence of me doing it so often. So the way that I use the charcoal, the way I move it around, and all the rest of it, the way I apply tones evenly and all that sort of thing, I try to find an evenness of tone. That's just because I do it so often. So it's still not talent that's making that happen. So I think the number one thing is this being aware of all these things. Being aware of what I'm doing with all these things, and why I'm doing all these things. I also think it's to do with being present with the event. So it's kind of, I can see what's happening in real time. I'm not focused on something other than now, because one of the things that the big problems is that, and that's all to do with expectations. But when someone the other week said that it's what's happening now, you got to focus on not what it is rather than what it could be, and that's the problem. Sometimes people will focus on the outcome, and that can be it can manifest in a way of being technique focused, sort of application focused, or whatever. It can manifest in that way, so that it does become about the way that you make the marks and the densities and the blends or whatever. It does become about those things. Once it does become about those things, you kind of know that you've lost it. You're never going to get that freshness in it because it's gone. You're too busy worrying about whether or not it's a perfect blend on this side of his face, or whether or not it's all this is the right kind of mark making, you lose the response, and it becomes more about execution. And as soon as you lose response in a portrait, then you probably lost the portrait. It will just become about the execution, and which is why you see so many that are just executions, because it's difficult to maintain a response. When I was doing the oils this week, the hardest thing was to keep the response in it. You know, the feeling that it was spontaneous and it was in the moment. Let me show you. So this was the first one that we did on Thursday morning. So I sort of paint like a draw, and it will have a, so it's at one go. There's no, this is the downside for oils for me, is that you have to wait for it to dry to do things. I know there's Alla Prima and all that, but I don't have that much paint, or decent brushes, so I can't do that. I can't be building it up and as Alla Prima does. So I tend to sketch, so it ends up looking a little bit like a watercolor, and because I work so thinly, but it has to be done all in one go. I can't call it Alla Prima because it's, beginning to end 2 hours and that's it. And so all of them become like that. And this was the Friday one. So there was another one in between bits underneath the paper. But this one was verging on the execution, because it had to become more marble-esque kind of phase, monotone feeling about it. And then the itchiness was that when I sketched this netting on a hat, I just used terps to take away the color, so it looked, and the texture of the canvas created the effect of this netting on a head. So, but they have to be done quickly. I can't, as soon as it starts to slow down, but then I lose what you're seeing in this one. But as I said, it's I don't think any of that's talent. I just think that's a consciousness of what you're doing and what's occurring in front of you. I think that's what that is. I know that fundamentally it's about observation. It's, painting, drawing, capturing the what's before you is fundamentally observation, and a lack of concern as to whether or not it meets the criteria or it's actually done in a certain way. This is the thing with the oils thing. I know I don't paint like oil painters paint. I don't care, but you could criticize the way I use oil paint, and people do, but I don't care. I just like what happens when I do it, and that's all that matters for me. So this thing of it being, that's not talent. That's a fearlessness of doing this. Primarily, there is no fear of failure, because you can't, not really. It will either become something of worth, or it'll feed your soul, or if you're lucky, it'll do both. And that, so that's neither of those things are talent. That's just an attitude of mind. So this idea, I just think that people will use that as an excuse for them not to try and not to do it, and to put what an artist puts into making this work, and as I said, the sacrifice and the hard work and all that kind of thing. But that really is one of the, it's a bit like the expectations thing. Somebody puts out there that, only talented people can do this. It might put people off from trying. That's not good, is it? I want everybody to try to do it. That's what, I cannot see why anybody couldn't try to make a portrait, to draw a portrait. There's just, I think it's more of a mental thing than it is of a physical thing, skills-based sort of technique thing. I think it's more of a mental thing, being able to draw. If if you've got that, there's an advert on the telly at the moment about the SAS, which is, I don't approve of anything like that, but what they're saying is that if you think you've lost, you've lost. That's that kind of thing. So it's the same thing can be applied to this. If you think you can't, you can't. It's that. And I suppose there's lots of things in life where you could apply the same thinking. But that as I say, it's to me, talent doesn't exist. I think my talent might be my resilience and my determination and relentlessness. And I think that's probably what my talent is. And that's regardless. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I have the same kind of dogged determination to make it work. And that's just how I've always been. So maybe that's the talent. Maybe that is what makes me special and different to other people. But I don't think so. I think that's probably a romantic, too romantic for me. It's not. I don't. If I wrote my memoirs, I'd like to think that I'd use that kind of terminology, but I don't know. I think that just I'd probably say that I just do it and I just keep doing it, and I'm quite selfish. I do it instead of doing what I should be doing, and just really different to what I think all art is the same. I think we all like put it before everything else. But as I said, I'm not. I don't think I've got this special gift, and I just think that I've bothered to sit down and one of the things I do is challenge everything. So I'll probably do that. That's a thing that most won't. If somebody tells you, somebody dead famous will tell you this is how you should do it, then a lot of people will just take that as read. And I always think, no, I'm going to do it another way. So no, I'm not having that. I'm going to do it this way. That's me. And I've always been the same. It's this question everything except nothing kind of attitude to life. And my lads are the same. And I brought them up with the same kind of dogged determination. And it manifests in particularly in Harrison. Both of them are equally as determined, but my youngest son, Harrison, his resilience against all the odds is just unbelievable. How he maintains it, I have no idea. He can spend months on a sculpture and building the equipment to make the sculpture, and only to find out on the third month, the last day of the third month, it didn't work, and he'll get up and he'll just do it again. That kind of determination. These are superheroes in my sons, so they're superheroes anyway. But that's for me what makes a superhero. Somebody that has that kind of determination to succeed. I'm not sure what it's a genetic thing, and what my dad was never like that, so it's not something I've got from my father. So I think that I probably, because I was cut loose quite early on, when I was young, and for myself kind of thing, and I think that's probably where it came from. You either not in a literal sense, but you kind of either survive or die, that kind of thing, and I was determined not to die. So which metaphorically it sounds grand and romantic, but what it meant was I was determined to pay the rent. That's what it meant. But yeah, it's those are the sort of things I think that make what people perceive as talent, and not the God-given thing that you didn't work for. that one. Yeah. Now this is interesting. So this is the dodgy charcoal, right? Dodgy in the sense it's not as good as mine, but it's still good charcoal. It doesn't blend that well, as you can see. It doesn't. With the charcoal I use, it tends to blend like a watercolor wash. But I'm illustrating or representing tones with this without the need for blending. So it's not a case of some super smooth blend down the side of his face there. Equally, the hair is not really about the sort of flow of the hair, but it has got the kind of the right kind of density. The problem is sometimes when I do that, you get it's either all or nothing. You're gonna have to follow the flow, right, to do that, or you're gonna have to do this and accept that it looks, it's giving the impression of. But it's when you get to a certain point, there's a great temptation with, and it's usually to do with an expectation, an original expectation, or something maybe you've done before and think that's how it should be, and you always want to do it that way. There's a temptation to start to blend it and to try and technique the thing, but for me, I'm more interested in giving the impression of the textures and the tones than I am in terms of representing them accurately. Well, they are accurate, but they're not. It's not a perfect blend as it is in the photograph or the image. Equally with things like this, where there's an unshaven element to it. It's not really a beard as such. It's just a patchy, sort of like a young man's beard. It's not. He hasn't grown it properly, or hasn't shaved it up. So normally, you more you shave, the darker your beard gets, but and more consistent it gets. But the effect of this is what I'm interested in, not really. And the fact there's some scratchy lines showing through it and all that doesn't really matter. But that's the thing. You have to be prepared when you're doing it to with charcoal that maybe doesn't do what you normally expect to do with it or expect to do with it. You have to be prepared to go with what it's doing. And if it gives the impression of those things, then that's kind of all that you need. You don't really need it to be a perfect replica, because that's another game. It's not the game that I play. I'm not really interested in exact copies or perfect replicas. What I'm interested in is capturing the essence of the guy. So which is what I've done. So there are things that you want to sort of, without losing too much of it, because one of the things you'll do is as you start to touch it and tweak it and all the rest of it, you start to lose the freshness of things, which is a problem, particularly when you start smoothing things, when you start smudging and smoothing things. So you got to be careful with that in case it does take away the spontaneity of it all. For the sake of it actually being, the lines being exactly perfect, you're going to lose everything that you put in when you're initially responded. Because that's the thing with the oils. It was the danger for me, and I talked about when I did that. I think what either this one or I think it might have been this one. That you see people do sketches, preliminary sketches, and they do 3 or 4 of these things, and they transfer it with a tracing onto the. By that time, I've lost all interest in doing it. So it has to be drawn and painted simultaneously for me, and it's the only way I can maintain my interest, my focus. If I can't do it all in one, then I've lost it. I'm just fed up with doing it. And I think if I was more of a commercially minded, I think I'd be different. I think that's probably why a lot of these people do that, so they can guarantee an outcome and meet a market need and all the rest of those things. But I don't have any interest in that kind of stuff, so I'm not bothered about. Equally with the fearless thing, I'm not really bothered about whether or not it turns out. So I'm not, and invariably it does. That's the weird thing about this. This friend of mine who's struggling with the tones, she painted for a long time, and then was getting more and more locked into the technique thing. But as soon as she got this sort of, I'm doing it for the joy, not for any other reason kind of approach to it, she became more prolific. Her work's getting a lot better than it was, and she loves doing it, which is, at the end of the day, the real reason why we do it, because no one's going to become a millionaire doing this sort of stuff. It's just going to be for our own benefit. So why not do it right? Why not do it for your own benefit? Why not embrace that? That's the thing. Just whatever. Who cares what people think or say? That's the thing, because it's as I said earlier, it's feeding your soul, not theirs. And that at the end of the day is, I think, is the secret to doing this, is that you don't got to care about anybody or what they think or what they say you should do. You just got to do it. And that, as I said earlier, it is strangely more effective. And you end up with portraits, drawings, whatever. However you apply this, you end up with something that's far more valuable and far more worthy than, well, certainly more worthy than the price of it. But in terms of a thing, the magical process of creating something from nothing, you end up with something that is just so world changing. As you think about it, you brought something to life. There's only one other occasion when that happens, and that's equally as magnificent, but far more, I think. But certainly from the point of view of creation, to create something from nothing is probably one of the most amazing things, most magical things. Well, create something with a piece of burnt wood and a bit of paper. I think that's the most magical thing. So you can't really fail, can you? So what? You've got like me, you've got thousands of these things stuck in folders. It doesn't matter, does it? Does it matter? Does it matter? It's not something I'm worried about. I quite like the idea of those faces locked in in folders on the shelf behind me. I quite like all that, because it's like a magician and his spells. All my spells are in those books. All my creations are in those books, and I like all that. Nobody sees them other than what you see I put on social media, but nobody else sees them. I don't put them in exhibitions or anything. The oils won't go into exhibitions. Not really interested in that kind of stuff. But I'm interested in doing this. This is what I'm interested in. Again, this is back to the talent thing. I just like doing this, and that, if that's the talent, that I just like doing this, then that's what it is. But it's certainly not something that is given by a omnipresent entity. So all that kind of stuff. No, it's not that. It's not that. Don't believe that. Just pick up your charcoal and let's draw something. Whatever it is, let's do it, and let other people decide. It's a bit like, I know I don't really talk about more contemporary stuff, although I do like contemporary art, but it's a bit like what I said about the doesn't matter what people think. You just they can decide whether it's good or bad, and while they're doing that, you can get on and make some more work. It's that kind of thing. Just do it. And there'll be plenty of people want to tell you how to do it, and plenty of people tell you you're doing it wrong, which is what I get. But does it matter? Do I care? No. This is just about done now. Like I say, the thing to do with charcoal that's like this, that doesn't necessarily do the thing I normally do, the things I normally do, you just got to replicate or imply and suggest the tones in the way that this charcoal will allow you to do it. and that's it. There's no I can't do it because it's not my usual charcoal. It shouldn't be like that. This is not the way I normally do it because I'm used to doing it. In fact, you won't even consider it. A lot of people will only I only use certain paper. I only use certain types of charcoal, certain brands of charcoal. And so a lot of people will be like that, and it'll just stop them from doing it, But at the end of the day, that tells you what kind of artists they are. If they're that focused on the materials as being the gatekeeper to their brilliance, then they're not necessarily, an artist, are they? I think it should be brilliant no matter what you've got in your hand. That's the thing. It's not dependent on other factors, whether that be materials or locations or people or teaching or whatever. It's not dependent on any of those things. It's only dependent on you are the reason you're brilliant, not something else. Anyway, as I say, I'm done now. So yeah, as I say many times now, let me say that I'm not really someone that believes talent is a thing that we should concern ourselves with. I think it's something that people who can't do this and people who won't do this concern themselves with. But I just think you should ignore that and make something great. Right, I'm off. It's a Sunday morning and the cat's at the door. So, yeah, that's all right. I'll see you in the next one.